weeks ago, got diagnosed with cancer. As you can see, my protocols are going to be a little different for the next few months because cancer, one of the many things it does is it attacks your immune system. And I am probably about 3 weeks into a treatment on chemotherapy, so we're making sure that I'm working with my doctor, as my doctor Shirley signed off on me coming back today. She was very encouraged about where we are, but obviously I've just got to stay focused on my health. I've been in touch with my staff for the last few weeks. A lot going on here, needless to say. We're working with our team. I had a call yesterday with all the committee chairs. As the majority leader, we still work on a lot of other things, scheduling the floor, working with the chairman, making sure that things are moving that need to be moving, but at the same time, just wanted to let you know in terms of my health, I'm just going to stay focused on that. It's going well. We have a great team. We're focused on the treatments. They're going to continue to evaluate me, so, in the first few weeks, it's kind of a few months process. They don't know yet how long it's going to be, 4 months, 6 months, but they want to continue to evaluate and say, okay, how's he doing? How's the treatment? The treatments are going well so far. I thank everybody for the prayers because the prayers are giving me strength. And my colleagues have been giving me incredible strength. And every step of the way, we just want to continue to focus on the job and focus on my health, and not always in that order. So with that, why don't we take a couple of questions?
I was just going to say, Mr. Leader, can you talk a little bit more about your treatment regimen, how often you'll have to go in for treatments, and how you intend to balance that with your schedule here, and also just given everything that is going on, how is that weighing on you in terms of the stresses of trying to avoid a government shutdown and this new impeachment inquiry?
Yeah, obviously there's a lot going on, there always is, but the main focus is on my health. And so when I was in the hospital, one of the first things they did was diagnose me for myeloma. It was unfortunately a quick diagnosis, and my wife and I were very clear that we wanted to be aggressive with it. Fortunately, there have been advances made. There's medicines that I can take. It's not all inpatient, so you can do a lot of outpatient treatment with the chemotherapy. So clearly, it's not like you have to go into the hospital for hours at a time. For some of it, you can be doing it here at the office. So that's going to be something I gauge with my doctors. Ultimately, we're going to be in constant communication to make sure that I'm taking the treatments I need to be taking to focus on my health while I'm also doing my job. And, a lot of it you do by phone, a lot of it you do more in person. The more they let me do in person, the more I'm to do. And, this is going to be, like I said, a work in progress day. Today was the first day where they said, we're comfortable with you going back. And I think, they're going to continue to gauge to make sure I follow my protocols, and we see positive response from the chemotherapy treatments that I've been taking.
Can we step back to, we know you were on the campaign trail when you took ill. Can you tell us, sort of walk us through what happened, how you, this was more than just gee, I just don't feel well, and the diagnosis there. And then on the follow-up, obviously with multiple myeloma, that it's going to kind of blow up your immune system for a fair amount of time. And in that time of recovery, do you plan to be gone for that section of time when typically treatment for that requires you to be sort of in a cleared grip?
Well, I'm getting treatment right now, so I'm in the process of getting treatments while I'm here. Again, some of it I could do remotely, some of it I can do here. If you want to go back to where it started, it was probably, like I said, about 3 weeks ago. I was on the road. During August recess, you're on the road a lot. And it was really my wife who noticed my appetite was dropping. I was doing a bunch of political events, and, I need a lunch and wasn't even hungry for dinner, was just kind of not feeling myself. And she's on the phone with me, and she's saying, Steve, this just doesn't sound right. When you come home, we're getting some tests running. So I landed on a Friday. We went straight to the doctor. They ran some blood work, and right away they said, you got to get to the hospital that night. And I went to the hospital that night, and by the next day they had an early idea, and then they wanted to do some some core samples to verify, but within days they had a formal diagnosis of myeloma.
Your wife diagnosed you over the phone.
Oh, she was very stern. She knew, she could tell me better than me. And, you know, sometimes you don't listen to your body. If I can encourage people, number one, I mean, I do my normal blood work and, you know, encourage people to get their annual checkups. And luckily I had gotten some blood work in December and they had run that blood work and it was clean. So we don't know exactly when the cancer started, but it was probably somewhere from January to August. But she surely saw the signs, and my system was just not reacting the way it should, and so she took good steps to get me to take care of myself, even when I maybe wasn't going to take as good a care of myself as I should have.
Mr. Leader, can you explain how leadership, you, the Speaker, Mr. Emmer, are going to convince the members of the Freedom Caucus that are opposed to a continuing resolution, how necessary that is to keep the government open? How do you get to that place?
A lot of conversations, you know, and those conversations have been going on. Some through the August recess. You saw today. They've continued to go on for the last few weeks, and we're still working to try to get the DoD appropriations bill moved. I mean, that bill is still out there. Obviously, you know, the votes aren't there for everything right now, but we're still having discussions to see if we can get some of the additional appropriations bills passed. But we just got to keep having conversations. I mean, we're still a few weeks away.
Based on conversations you've had, what do you think the shutdown prospects are at this point?
Well, you can tell that there's a big divide between the House and the Senate and the White House. I mean, our biggest issue is we want to get control over spending. We want to get control over the border. You've heard a lot of concern about how the border needs to play a role in this too. We've got to get secure of America's border. We've got to get the economy back on track. A lot of the appropriations bills we've moved through the Appropriations Committee have had a lot of riders to try to get the economy moving again, to open things up again on energy production, on so many other different areas. And we're just very far apart from where the White House and the Senate are. And I don't see any real interest from the White House on trying to improve where the economy is. I mean, they're still bragging about Bidenomics, even though the economy continues to struggle.
Just do one more.
Sir, we know the impeachment inquiry that the Speaker opened this week, announced this week, is still underway and still starting, but based on what you've seen, what you've been briefed on, have you seen evidence of high crimes and misdemeanors on the part of the President back when he was Vice President or now as President?
We've been talking about bringing an impeachment inquiry for months because if you look at some of the whistleblowers, for example, we have had a lot of whistleblowers come forward, bring powerful testimony. We've identified millions, over $20 million in shell corporations, in illegal payments, things that I don't think anybody would have seen if we wouldn't have had the Oversight Committee, the Judiciary Committee, and the Ways and Means Committee being so aggressive at trying to get the information out. But they've started to hit a wall, and impeachment inquiry is the next step to get additional information from the White House, because the White House has been stonewalling some of that information, but it's incredibly devastating already, some of the information that has come out on the millions and millions of dollars in shell corporations, some cases from foreign countries, that have gone to the Biden family. And I think everybody in America ought to want to know more about this. And the impeachment inquiry gives us the opportunity to go and find more of the facts. We're going to continue to find the facts wherever they lead.